on this historic 43rd annual pilgrimage and on the occasion of Gonzaga's 125th anniversary celebration.
Good afternoon and welcome, and thank you for making this pilgrimage. It's a tradition that only works if people actually make the trek. And I know all of you got up very early this morning to begin this trek and to again claim this tradition for Gonzaga. I do want to take an opportunity just to acknowledge, as Jeff already has, that this activity, along with the number that are occurring for us this 125th anniversary year, are made possible through the support of a number of people, some of whom are following you at no too great a speed up the hill. They are members of our board of trustees, some of whom have come to be with us for this portion of your pilgrimage. And I just want to acknowledge the chair of our board has come over from Bellevue today to be with us, John Luger, and the vice chair has flown from the San Juan Islands to join us as well today. They also are joined by members of our board, including Tom Tilford, who's in the yellow shirt behind us, former board chair and trustee emeritus, as well a Gonzaga alum, and one whose time at Gonzaga in this pilgrimage didn't cross, but who is co-chairing together with his wife Camilla our 125th anniversary celebrations. With him is Mike Patterson, another Gonzaga alum and a former board chair and a member of our board as well. And also Jack McCann is here from Kent, together with his wife Mary. So would you please join me in thanking our board members for their support. I prepared about 45 minutes of remarks because that's what presidents are supposed to do, but I know that you're hungry. And I know that the trail has been a dusty one because it hasn't rained here in months. So I'm not going to stand between you and lunch except to make a couple of quick remarks about the importance of this moment and of your participation in this tradition. You know, in many respects, this mission would not be here were it not for kind of the grandfather of the Jesuits in this region, Pierre-Jean de Smet. And during his time and after his time, he was known as the Apostle of the Rockies. And part of why he is acclaimed in this part of the world is because he was one who was willing to travel long and great distances in the service of ministry to our Native American Indian tribes, and in many respects worked together with them to try to vouchsafe for them the opportunity to hold on to those parts of this country that had been part of their traditions for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. And if you read the story of de Smet and the Jesuits of that era, and have an opportunity to delve a little bit into the ground upon which we now walk in the interpretive center that is here to try to unpack some of that history, you learn that ultimately, in his own way, de Smet felt that he failed, and that many of the desires that he had for the ministry and the mission of the Jesuits during that time were not realized. And so it's important for us to honor his memory and the work of those Jesuits, and you're doing that in a sense by resurrecting an important part of what ultimately became Gonzaga's history. You have been symbolically walking the trail of the Jesuits to a very important part of the history of our institution, And by doing that, you become part of that history and part of that tradition as well. The dispossession of tribal lands is a horrific part of our nation's history, and it's a part of our history that De Smet and his fellow Jesuits and the Native American tribal peoples with whom they worked really worked hard to try to avert, and it's an important part of our institution's history as well. I have shared with colleagues, and I share in a number of different ways throughout this year, that the theme that we've created, that of tradition and transformation, is an important one because it's important for us in order to discern where we're going, to understand both where we've been and how that has brought us to the moments in which we find ourselves. And for me, as important as the what is the question why. Why is it that the people of Spokane Falls asked the Jesuits to create a university and to raise up a great university for the Northwest? And in my way of thinking about it, people like De Smet and Rivali, who were important to the construction of this particular mission church, were emblematic of characteristics that you've also participated in a very literal way today. And that is, and it will be seen throughout the experience that Jeff and his colleagues have created together with you, the fact that the Jesuits represented intellectual and they represented spiritual, but they also represented corporal fortitude. They were courageous and they were tough. And at the time that this Sacred Heart Mission Church was constructed, very little of what we can currently see around us existed in the form that it did. Indeed, when Gonzaga was first constructed, Spokane Falls was still waiting for electricity. So the Jesuits represented an important triumvirate, and you too represent that to me and to those of us who want to support your efforts throughout this year as students, and together with our colleague faculty and Jesuits and staff who have joined you on this journey. You represent now that corporal fortitude, as well as the willingness to participate in an active intellectual and faith life. And so I want to thank you for taking an important part out of your weekend to participate in this annual tradition of Gonzaga. The very first one, Father Scott Coble was on. He's still a member of our faculty. It was in the spring, it rained, and there wasn't enough food. This time, there's no rain, there's plenty of food, and it's probably time for us to get to it. So with that, we're going to have a blessing over our meal together, and then we'll be welcome to lunch. So thank you so much, and thank you for participating in this year's program.